All right. Topping, why do you do this to yourself? So I'm here and I set up on the desk and I'm like, I'm probably gonna do just the amp. This is the new Topping A70 Pro. And Topping loves to just beat itself. It's like Fight Club, spoilers. Because this here, oh God, A90D, the A90 Discrete came out after like, what, 1 year of the Topping A90 being the supreme leader of all amplifiers. And they came out with this and they beat it in every facet. And they have more options and you had like the adjustment, you could double tap it and turn it in digital displays and it must have been 6 or 7, 8 months. Has it been 8 months? Well, it's time for Topping to ruin their beautiful lineup again by coming out with something new and something that is just wholly better. Again. So if you watched my video and you bought something 8 months ago or 3 months ago or 2 months ago, and now you're like, but Zeos, I'm already happy with my Topping amplifier. It's too fucking bad. So the layout currently on the desk, besides kitty cat mouse pad linked in the description, is A70 Pro, D70 Pro Sabre, and then D70 Pro OCTO up here, which arrived today. Today, between reviews, I'm like, oh, a box. Oh, God. So I have 2 Dacs going into this, all from the same thing. This one's $100 cheaper because it uses 8 Cirrus Logic Dacs versus a set of the ESS Sabres. But really, I want to focus on this because Dacs I could talk about any time. I can get the LA90 and hook them up balanced because I'm not doing bad. I have all 3 headphones just for this reason alone. Stop everything I've said up to this point. Click the link in the description to see how expensive this is. Guess what? This is cheaper than this was when it came out. And this was cheaper than the LA90 when it came, or the A90 when it came out. They just keep getting better and cheaper, and it's eventually we'll hit like what's the focal point where there's $0 in the best thing that ever existed. It'll just keep getting better and cheaper and better and cheaper until like, what's the infinity line called? Like the event horizon of Topping. Amplifier. Okay? Box, beautiful, silver, like not sharp edges, just hard edges, but not sharp. Beautifully built. Like, makes that one look like crap. Power input. You have a ground lift switch in case you get humming from your system being fucked up. It'll just ignore the grounds. You get a firmware update, USB-C. I actually did the firmware update on that unit, I believe. And it's super cool because you plug this into your computer, the USB-C, and it just acts as a USB key, like a hard drive. And it's a big empty folder. And you just drag a file into it. And the next time you turn this unit on, it reads it, installs, and it's done. So the firmware updates in these are super fucking cool and easy. You have 12-volt triggers in and out. For those of you who are running bigger systems where you're using this like as your preamp, it'll turn on amplifiers for you. When you turn this on, 12-volt comes out, you plug in a 3.5 millimeter mono, it turns that on. XLR outputs, RCA outputs. If you're using this as a preamp to other amplifiers or powered speakers, I didn't hook it up to this because just please don't make me do it today. It's enough wires in this desk. And then you see I have these very, very nice KLE RCAs going from the D70 Pro OCTO into it, and then these nice World's Best Cables XLRs coming from the Sabre into it, and then this here, yeah, you're on there too. Okay, that is for the expander module, which I'm not sure if they're going to make it match the series yet, but Topping has an expansion module, which I could have really used for this test, honestly, that lets you have more analog inputs. It's a whole other box. It's a whole other unit you get, and you can plug in, I think, 2 or 3 XLRs. I should ask APOS for that. APOS, make a note. Because that would have helped me test, because I'm testing 2 DACs with 2 different input voltages. Makes it a little more difficult. But that's what... Magic. That's what that is. So, we get it? Cool. Let's look at the front. Instead of having just the random like number display, we have a full fuck display. In fact, you can switch it from the infographic like you normally get on these topping things or SMSL things, where this is telling me single-ended, which, by the way, this is a screen, and you've got 3 touch buttons here, along with the digital knob that is also a touch button. So the bottom is home select. So you could either have a full VU meter, quiet, or this, which your left and right displays at the bottom, and a full breakdown of frequencies, which, by the way, both the Dacs have that currently on. So you could just have like as many things of that as you want, or just the infographic with the volume. It's telling me it's balanced input currently, which we can swap. Now it's single-ended, now it's the octo, and now it's balanced, and now it's that. And you have a menu button up top and your home select. Gain is on low. We're at negative 11 dB. And this pair of headphones is playing even though all 3 are plugged in, because I set the knob to switch to the individual headphone output on the front, set to specifically the volume required for that headphone. You're gonna buy it, it's $500. You can leave 3 headphones plugged into this unit, which, by the way, I don't want to make this like not special, but it's 17 watts a channel at 32 ohms. No, wait, 17 watts a channel at 16 ohms, and then 12.5 watts a channel at 32, and then 6 watts at 64, and then 1300 milliwatts at 300, and over half a watt, 670 milliwatts at 600 ohms. I wanted to start with that, because that makes this officially the most powerful, specifically headphone amplifier that I think I've ever reviewed. Someone will correct me. I'm sure there was something I did. It was like, oh, Hollow May had this, the matching DAC. And don't forget you did the one from Flux Labs that had more. 17 watts, which is why the tungstens are here. Because this is one of the few off-the-shelf amplifiers you could just buy and be like, yes, I'd like to hear the Modhouse tungstens on it. Now, this is still the 9.0 driver, so it's a little bit less efficient than the ones you can buy, which, by the way, if you want to see the review of the tungstens, patrons have it. They'll have it until Ryan at Modhouse has enough of the units privately sold to have the money to build like 4,000 of these. When I switch to the 4.4 output, which is what the Modhouse tungsten is using, the gain becomes high and it hits zeros. The reason it's on 0 and not a little bit less is because I'm running the XLR outs of this negative 5 dB, and I'm running this at full out to try to make them level, so I can just literally do that and compare the 2 Dacs. Single-ended is Octo. Balanced is the Sabre. I'm not going to say I like the Sabre more, but there's something about the SABRE DAC, I think, at least with all the negative things, it's running RCA instead of XLR. It's running coaxial digital instead of AES. So it has a little bit of a detriment that way. I'll do a fuller review of the Dacs. We're going to go over everything. Oh my God, by the way, fucking just these. I think some of you are buying this just for that fucking monkey girl feature right there that you can set the front to just have output select. I want to listen to this headphone or this headphone or this headphone. And it remembers single-ended. I don't think it'll remember the actual input. That's different. But on the XLR output, which is this one, which is going to the 8XX, we are on low gain at negative 11. It remembers the gain setting. There's only 2. You would think with 17 watts per channel, they might give you 3, but it doesn't seem to need it because the digital volume is pretty fucking clean. In fact, just like that, the upgrade from the A90 to the A90D became the ladder volume control. So it's flicking relays instead of it being like a pot that can get dirty. This here, right here, for $500 is an example primo of why Zeos doesn't review many shit products. I like shit. Shit's American made. Shit sounds good. But shit has 0 in the way of like feature sets. Like this has a remote control. I don't have it here. I have the remote control for this. But you can remote control this with a real remote, go through the menu. We're going to go through the menu. In fact, let's go through the menu now. But this is the kind of thing like, okay, if it's American made, it wouldn't be $500 because China can make things way cheaper. But even if shit, the equivalent of this costs $1,500, I'd recommend it because I like American-made stuff. But it would probably cost an extra $1,000 to try to get the sort of technology into a shit item that this has. Or also build quality, because this thing is primo. So the button, you saw what the button does. I have it currently set to switch between the headphone inputs, and then you turn it around. And I think if we hold it down, it turns off. I don't know because I don't turn it off. It doesn't even get super warm when you leave it on all the time. So now it's on, and we're back on our thing. So now the top button here is menu. You know, this switches between our inputs. It's literally an input logo for single-ended or balanced. You hit this, and boom, you get into the full menu. So the menu here, the first thing is display, and you enter that, and you have a sub-menu for displays. We now have sub-menus. So the home is set to normal, or you could set it to VU, or you could set it to the FFT. So since this is the amplifier, I'm setting it to normal because I'm having those do things. You could just easily set it to the VU. Brightness, medium, nah, fuck that, we're putting on high. The FFT 0 dB level, so you can actually pick 10, 2, 5, or 10 VRMS for the level of the graph when it's dancing, in case your levels are different. So it was set to 5, I'll leave it at 5. The classic VU is either +4 dBu or +10 or +16. So how much the analog VU, like these are settings specifically just for the visuals. We're just in we're in the bullshit visuals, nothing to do with sound quality. Then the level meter can be all on or normal page or FFT page, and I'm putting all on for the bottom level meter. Then you hit return. That was just the settings for the display for the cool shit that dances around when you're playing music. Now we have gain, low and high. Now that's currently specific for every output, but it doesn't have to be. You see output mode, headphone amp, or preamp. So now, or headphone amp and preamp. So that's in the menu. So now, did that switch to high gain just now? I don't remember what our input is. But now here, below that, HPA output is IND, individual. All. Individual. You can do the 3 output things with 3 headphones that you never have to unplug if you set that to individual. You could set this one has to be low gain, this one has to be high gain and slightly down, and this one has to be high gain and way up. And you can do that by just setting it to an independent output control. Every other amplifier, like Quest styles and things like that, this is what you have to live up to. You have to live up to this level of convenience. Because you know what I hate more than anything? Unplugging anything. And you know what? There's people out there right now that are fucking fist pumping. They're like, yeah, fucking just hates it. I hate it. I hate unplugging things. I hate when you have to unplug a headphone to use a preamp out. Or I hate when you have to, like, when it's output into both and you got to unplug other. Just, I want to leave everything plugged in. I never want to unplug anything ever. And with this, you don't have to. With this, you don't fucking have to. In fact, when we get to the DAC section, you don't even have to fucking... you can just pick the outputs, pick the inputs, pick the... You just have it... It's like a matrix network. You can just... Back to the menu. So, gain high, headphone output is what I want. Headphone output independent, pre-output. So the pre-outs in the back, we have XLR and RCA. You can make those independent too. You can make those independent too, so that you have an XLR setup going to some powered monitors. You could set your volumes on that. And if you have an RCA output going to another amplifier, for whatever reason you'd have it go from this to like a speaker amplifier, you could have it be a fixed volume with a higher volume. So you could do that. By the way, it doesn't time out of the menu for a while because you have to actually relieve it. So now we scroll down. So we start with display, go through all this. We get to an advanced submenu, which is above language, reset, and return. So now we go to the advanced submenu, and now you have exactly what the fuck you need for a 17 watt per channel amplifier, the safe volume settings. Safe volume on or off. I have it off because I'm a badass. Safe volume, -30, probably a good place to start. You can enable or disable the remote control, which again, it's around here, and you could do all sorts of custom settings and savings buttons. You know what I'm talking about. Then you have here the button. This button, this is what the button. These buttons are fixed. This is the button. And you have to choose output select, home select, brighten select, dim the screen, mute, input select. You want it on output select to do this job. And then you return. And then you go down and you hit return. And we're back to that one now. So we get it play. We actually have to bring this up. So hold on, let's go menu, display, VU, classic VU. We're going to do plus 16. Return, return. That actually made it worse. Hold on, wait, we're going to go back. Display, classic VU. You have 4, 10, and 16, so we'll try 4. Oh, we just hit home. There we go. Now, it kind of bothers me a little bit that it's not a stereo VU. The screen isn't big enough. Or sometimes when they do a virtual VU like this, they'll have 2 virtual needles. I've seen them actually in real life that have 2 needles, like a left channel and a right channel needle. So just one, it's summing the total of the sound, and it's giving you a rough VU, which is better than most things. Actually, hold on, wait. Let's actually go up with this. Hold on a second. Checking a thing. No, see, it is not locked to the volume of the actual headphone. So that's just your input volume, and it's real low here. I don't know why it's as low. Probably because I have replay gain, keeping everything sort of like... How does it sound, Zeos? Get to the point of the sound. It's an improvement over the previous generation. You could just look at the numbers, honestly, because people always complain. I live in audiophile circles. It's like, probably sounds like a topping. And that's true. Topping has a sound signature. Clean as fucking balls. Not like human balls or kitten balls. Like, I don't know, some sort of spherical glass space balls. That's how clean it is. Everything works on it. Is it as warm as like a Class A or like an OWN that like gets to 70 fucking degrees Celsius? No, it doesn't add that sort of vibrance to it. Does it have the Quest style current mode amplification like push? No. But everything I plug into it, I could guarantee this is what the headphone sounds like. These, by the way, are the Acoustic Research AR-H1s, because it's Acoustic Research Headphone 1. And they only sold for a short period of time, and the set I held at a Can Gym in New York exploded when I picked them up. And then there were like unit variations. These are big old planars with big square fucking plugs. And I love them to death, but they were never consistent enough and available long enough to actually like love them as hard as I needed to love them. It's nice to be able to pull them out. So now, if we're gonna talk about like dark background, like having no noise, the noise floor in this is a 0. 17 watts per channel and 0 noise. I'm shaking my head. In case the motion stabilization on the GoPro is blocking it out, I'm just shaking my head. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It should have some sort of hiss or nothing. Absolutely nothing. I picked the wallpaper with the most units on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count that as fucker as 6th unit. So $499, you get one of the best headphone amplifiers on the market, one of the most advanced as far as like feature sets, and then that's it. You graduate. Click the link, read the specs. I'm not here to read your specs. I'm Zeos. I don't read specs. Do I have anything fucking else to say about this other than it's great? No, let's move on. So now I was looking at the specs between the 2 Dacs. Now I'll probably whip these Dacs out in future reviews, but all you got to know, because if you're one of those people who's like, I want to build a stack Zeos, the 2 Dacs in question here, and I got to close these out because I was looking at spec numbers. The OCTO versus Home. $699 for the Sabre and $599 for the OCTO. I love how the Dacs cost more than the amp, and yet the amp is so much more impressive. That's why I was always like, sort of like, yeah, you buy the A90, but the D90, it was like $700-800. Like, just get any DAC. It's just Shelly Labs. See, yes, link to the Shelly Labs DAC in the description. But now the DACs are starting to catch up with the technology of the amps in this weird fucking scenario. So you get the same wonderful home screen selection of that or this or just the numbers, like the actual specs. And then the menu on this, And there's only one difference between the OCTO and the SABRE as far as the menu items. I don't know if it's worth $100, but I'll show it to you. So you get the standard display. Again, everything to do with the VU meters, return. You get AS output select balanced. You can select all or just one of the outputs. Your on-off triggers, if you want to use triggers, your PCM filters. We go down, reset language. In the advanced section, you get channel balance. Both of these DACs have channel balance. This is apparently something that's been missing from DACs forever. I've had so many people that when they talk about this, like, oh my God, it's got a channel balance. That's amazing. I've needed that because I have, lost hearing in my left ear. It needs like 2 dB more, and I have to do it in like Windows, and it's a fuck. So this actually just has channel balance. You can just click that and then go as far as 9.5 decibels in either direction, or hit C for center. We'll go from the bottom up. So bandwidth 5 is for PLL. Bandwidth 5 is about as low as you go before you risk having signal issues. But I have an amazing setup here, so it won't have any signal issues. Not to toot my own horn. Your button control, what this does, you can enable or disable the remote control in case another remote in your house fucks with it. Just disable the remote. I have disabled Bluetooth. Because look at that fucking antenna. That cap, by the way, is the cap that was in the thing. I just put it on there because it looks cool. But that is a chunky. Like, this is so I could listen to the Bluetooth from my car in here. That's nutty. But you can disable it like I have. Then you have the DAC mode, preamp mode, or full-on DAC mode, where it just feeds out with no volume knobs. I have it set to pre-out. Then you got an output level of either 4 volt or 5 volt. So you can actually boost the XLRs. If you have, I'm using 5 volt on both of these for this, even though the RCA outputs won't be affected by the 5 volt or 4 volt selection, which I guess I should look at the back of it after I get to the menu. But because here under channel balance and above output level is sound mode. Is this worth $100 extra? Because if they sounded exactly the same, this will make them not sound exactly the same. You literally have 3 settings. Sound mode off, which I don't like the sound mode off, because off doesn't sound like it should be playing sound at all. What it should say is default or stock or neutral, because when you hit the button, you now have the word valve show up. Be cool if it played the valve sound. So that it can emulate a tube in the DAC. Now, this is not the first time there's been sound modes. There used to be those crystal ones. It was a crystal tube, and something else was, or like warm. So one of those things where like SMSL would cycle through them. But this doesn't have multiple levels or anything. This just has, I gotta go back in there. You have either valve, transistor, or off. Now, here's the thing. I thought all radios and things were fucking tubes, aka valves, back in the Dizzy. And then the transistor was invented and everything became transistor. And I thought up to this moment, everything sounded like transistors, but apparently transistor is a sound mode. So you could set this to transistor sound mode and then make sure this is on the balanced input. And then when I hit next track, the sound is like, it sounds like the current mode amplification of that is now in this because of this. Like, and these were real hard to pick apart. Maybe I like this for a little bit more soundstage, but putting that into transistor mode and then or valve mode changes the sound in like an 8 to 9% way. Like, that's just. And here's the thing, you have to be very comfortable in fucking with the back end of your audio listening to turn those things on. If you're one of those audiophiles, if you're a true audiophile, the Maxell tape audiophile, that is just, no, purity, cleanliness, I want pure digital all the way to my ears and convert the digital to analog only through the fine, you're probably never gonna turn those switches on. But if you're a person that has a birthday and you have movies you hate and you've ever graffitied something and you're a little bit like, fuck you, I'm listening to what I like, you will turn those options on and you'll probably leave them on. In fact, before I started this review, because I hadn't hooked these up for a while, they were sitting on the desk in the waiting desk, waiting. I had to go through it. If I would have not remembered, I would have tested this amplifier with valve mode on, and I would have been like, oh, this sounds fucking wildly wide. You put it in off, you feed it with off, which is what this has. This does not have those options. The OCTO DAC with the blue waifu does not have the options for the sound color. You lose that option because that's an ESS thing, apparently. I almost think it's worth $100. Just to have a DAC that I don't have to worry about, oh, it's not an R2R DAC, it's not the Himalaya DAC from Hi-Fi Min. It's just a DAC. It's a very clean, very nuts to the wall, by the book, clean DAC. But you dig into the menu a little bit, you go to advanced, you go down, and you swap it to valve mode. Oh, there's my home button. You swap it to valve mode. This almost deserves a sound demo. The difference between just off to valve and to transistor deserve a sound demo. And I could try to describe the sound differences, and it's just like off is clean and normal, and everyone respects the cleanliness of this amplifier, and then you fuck with it. And all of a sudden, in valve mode, you're just enveloped by this slight delay of the sound that it's so focused and like a ball in the middle. And the transistor mode just sounds like it's pushing more. And you shut it off and it's back to like normal mode. And it's not an EQ. It's not doing something that's like you could replicate by just going into an EQ and fucking with it. It's actually messing with like the structure of the sound and how it's being put through this. I personally would pay the extra $100 for this one if you want to experience what I'm describing. But the OCTO one for $100 less is still a damn good DAC. And it has all the other features and functions and displays. So now I've got... Hold on. Oh, down in it. But I want to swap back to tungsten. Hold on. Oh. You know, that's going to absolutely get content matched. And they're going to be like, you lied to us. YouTube's a piece of shit. Let's just change the home screen. This is an option. Now, I can't do that thing where I use two DACs, one for the right and one for the left, because there are different voltages and outputs and everything. But you want this. I know you do. You know how I know that you want this? Because I want this, and I currently have it. Obviously, you would need the two DACs. You just have one. But this is a special scenario. This is like absolutely the next. This feels like the future. If they would have announced this and been like, come out with it. I went to the UK, Can Jam. If you haven't seen the video, please check it out. It's on the channel. It's about a week and a half before this video. And there was a topping like DAC amp combo that was huge with a giant glass window and two of these displays. And obviously that's the next logical step. I have no idea how much that costs. It's got to be $2,000, $25. For this to be $500 and this to be $600 and this to be $700, and you only need really pick the one you want, you're probably looking at the amplifier. But if you're looking for a DAC, just a straight DAC, get the fucking SABRE DAC and plug it into... I want to fucking send the SABRE DAC with the different sound modes into like all the other... into an actual tube. I want to put tube on, I want to put it into a tube amp just to see what happens. Just compound the fun. I just want music listening to be fucking fun. And this can go from very, very clean, everyone complains, topping sounds just clean and sterile, to holy shit. I don't know what's more important in this video, the feature set of the A70 Pro or the sound options you get on the D70 Pro SABRE. One of those two things is the most amazing. Anyway, I'm done. Thank you for supporters of this channel are heartfelt, and I love them all. For $5 a month, you get to see these reviews early, participate in yard sales, and get to the lossless sound demos, which no longer exist on YouTube. Because fucking YouTube. For $10 a month, see reviews early, all that other crap. And then, also, private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat We are encroaching. Every 3 months it gets wiped, and we're encroaching back to that 200 member mark. You could ask questions. You could share your stuff. It's a great little community. Obviously, you're all psychopaths if you decide to throw $10 at this guy right here. So you all have that in common. It's nice to find people who have that weird quirk in common. And then once you're in that chat, you could ask me questions directly and get access to a lifetime swap meet channel where you get to buy, sell, and trade gear. So if you do have the old standard, you could sell that, put the money towards this, or towards this, which that review is going to be coming shortly too. Although I have to get the fire extinguisher ready because that thing gets fucking hot. Wallpaper in the Horde. You know how to support me. Thank you all for being here. And do that thing with the likes and the fair. I don't fucking want to say it. I don't want to say it. But do it anyway. And I'll see you in the next one.